Riker doesn't strike Carmen as someone who puts down roots. Carmen makes the most memorable desserts. And Carmen goes back to save a fallen pioneer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Carmen Show with Sirach Lofton.
Yeah, a lot of Carmen references.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Of course, it's the seventh rule. Today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation. We're well into Season 5, Episode 4, Silicon Avatar. Story by Lawrence V. Conley. Teleplay by the one and only Jerry Taylor, directed by Cliff Bowl. This was October 12th, 1991. Where were you? Sirach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I put October 12th. I put October 12th, 2025 by accident. That's why I was all thrown off on my own notes. October 12th, 1991. I'm doing well. That was a very good time for music. There's a lot of music revolution going on there. I think we discussed that another time. Everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. If you're listening in as an audio podcast, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. Also, come visit us on patreon.com/the7th-rule. Be our pal, support the show, support something you believe in, or don't, or support something you don't believe in. That's cool too. Anyway, Sirach, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I barely remembered this episode. I thought I'm sure I'd seen it before, but man, I did not remember any of it. And you've never seen this before. We're going into uncharted territories, which is super exciting. First thoughts in the opening scene, of course, my mind was on you because the first thing we see is Riker talking to Carmen, and Carmen being like, "Why don't you come back for dinner? I make the best dessert. Hey, hey, ho, ho, what do you know?" And I was like, Sirach's thinking it's going to be another Riker humps everything episode.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought, man, this season started off so good with these first 3 episodes. I thought, oh, this is going to finally deviate from Riker's photon torpedo bay. But no, right back to it. Right back to his, sexual shenanigans. Yep. And so I wrote in my notes, shaking my head. OMG, here we go again. That's what I felt. I'm glad it changed. And actually now, once the story got going, I realized why they used that as a bait to get people to have a response, because it immediately lets you feel like, oh, I know where this is going.
And it took a couple twists, right? At first, it felt like it was the Riker and Carmen show. It's gonna be, where in the world is Carmen blow your back out? And it was like, but then she died really quickly, and then it's Riker and them are trapped in a cave episode. I get it. It's going to be how long can they survive in a cave? That's another thing.
Yeah.
And then it changes again. I was like, almost like they had the B and C plots in order, like they did a C plot, then a B plot, then an A plot, rather than mixing things together or something. But it kind of took a couple twists there.
That's what I liked about it. It was not predictable, because I thought, for example, okay, this is a colony episode. It's just going to be, I think it was Dr. Crusher, Data, and Riker on this planet surface, and they're going to have the whole, the Enterprise, the other main cast of the Enterprise is going to be stuck on the ship, so we won't barely see them. But that wasn't the case at all. They just, they just kept throwing a whole nother curveball in there. And they used the whole Riker leading with his pants to get us to have a certain perception about what this was. And I also reused the opening theme when they had the Picard scene, where Picard says, is there any conflict of interest to him? Essentially, like,
Ooh, yeah, remember, that was Riker got right. There was some great acting in that scene.
Yes.
Like he said, I could pull up the exact quote, but Picard says something to the effect of, he said, "Are you sure that's?" Oh, so Riker says, "Maybe we should destroy the entity. I don't want those deaths to be on my conscience." And Picard says, "Are you sure that's it, number one? Or are you being influenced by personal feelings?" And Riker's like, "Whoa!" Like he stood up, and there was a little tension there.
Riker came back. He's like, "With all due respect, sir, I am not a raw cadet."
Yes.
I was like, "Whoa!" Hit him with the raw cadet talk. and said it still respectfully enough. I thought, because I had to rewatch it a few times to see what level of respect there was when he was challenging him in that moment, because he did ask permission to speak freely, so they were in a speak freely conversation, but he didn't exude a level of disrespect. It was more standing up for himself than it was trying to lay any accusation on Picard.
And if you'll notice, he says permission to speak freely. He says granted, and Riker still calls him sir. In that case, he's still calling him sir, even when he feels insulted. With all due respect, sir. There's still that. They're not speaking any more freely, really, than Riker just saying, "Hey, Captain, can I bring up an issue with you? I think that maybe we should," that's what the first officer's job is, right? If anybody is allowed to do that to the captain, it's the first officer. Their job is to carry out the captain's orders, but their job is also, they're the ones that may bring something to the captain that they think could be a mistake, or, bouncing thoughts back and forth. Because if the captain can't do that with the first officer, who's he going to bounce his ideas off of? A lieutenant, an ensign? So, I thought it was great.
Yeah, and so that's the recall on the opening scene that allowed that moment to have some gravity to it, right? It was like, are you sure you weren't just worried about that date you had?
He's pissed at that crystalline entity for that. He's like, "You ruined my dessert, bro."
Yeah, he was like, "I was gonna get some fried chicken curry, and you messed that up. You messed it up." And she was like, when we're here on the colonies, we think about building houses and having children.
Yeah, that was that way it really, because they're like, we have to make it mean something. It has to be about like building houses and children, and so that way it really, it's so sad and so powerful. But they're like, yeah, but it's Riker, so it also has to be very sexual in nature. It has to be very like, "Oh, you want some dessert? Oh, I brought a bottle of wine. Hey, oh, all that just to get us to go, I guess now I care that it kills people." Like, it could have just killed a colony, and we would have, but this way, kind of, I guess.
Well, we also get the payoff of the Riker Picard moment right there. We get the payoff of that. We also get something, we get half attached to a character in the first second, which is like, these people matter, as opposed to we just show up anywhere. There's some kind of these people matter moment when you have that. Because can you remember anybody else in that colony?
Yeah, that died.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody left an impression on you, right? There were a bunch of people in that cave, and nobody really stands out. They didn't really have any kind of impact as far as their life meaning something to us as the audience. You know what I mean? So yes, she was the representative spokesperson for our familiarity with the entire group, essentially. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with, in this case, with the whole Riker trying to get some action, from them borrowing from that theme. It's a theme that's been established. They just borrowed it because it's part of his nature. And I like that it had the twist. I like that they were in the cave. I like that I didn't expect the people who were digging to that cave when they were in the cave, and you see Riker hear somebody crawling through the rocks or something. I thought, oh, this is the moment where
the Romulans show up or something. Right?
Yeah. Somebody in the village that's been hiding from everybody. Like, I thought this was going to be the moment, right? But then no, completely changed and became, a War LaForge rescue thing. So, and the other thing about this is, when you watch a movie, when I watch these episodes, the first thing I have to go on is the title, right? So, whatever it is, it's like yesterday's Enterprise. Oh,
Right.
what is yesterday's Enterprise? You know what I mean? What does that mean? It's got obviously about the Enterprise from yesterday. So, but where does that mean exactly? And so you get a lot of these titles that sometimes hint in a very accurate way what a show is going to be about. In this episode, I had no idea. Silicone
Same thing.
Avatar gave me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, they should rename this episode because the name itself wasn't memorable.
Yeah, I don't even understand. I still, after watching the episode, don't understand what it means. Now, that's obviously my own fault. I could look things up, or I could read a book for once in my life. But like, I can't make a connection as to what the episode is called and what the episode is about. I don't know.
I don't either, and I think that it didn't properly um, t- highlight what I felt this episode was about. Like the root of this episode is not a silicone avatar, and it's not even the crystalline entity in per se. Even though that would probably be a better name for this episode because they said it a few times in the episode, the crystalline entity, the crystalline entity. That would have made more sense, at least in this title, because then they said it a few times. They didn't ever call it the silicone avatar.
Yeah, maybe that's a good question for the free for all. Like, what does that even mean? Like, somebody's going to know what the connection is. I mean, I just Googled silicone avatar just in case there's some kind of mythological thing or discussion, and they pulled it from that we're supposed to know. Every result is the TNG episode. It's just a made up thing.
It's a made up thing. The crystalline entity would have been a better name for this episode, and because that's essentially what we're dealing with. But also something more related to Dr. Marr and what her experience was, I think would have also been appropriate. But they went with the silicone avatar, and I just was like, I couldn't get silicone avatar in this episode connecting. Usually, the title is very well, it does encapsulate the feeling of what it is. Not this one.
Yeah, so this is, I think we've seen the crystalline entity 3 times. One was in the episode Data Lore, if you'll recall. That was what they were referring to with lore. This one in this episode, and also in Lower Decks, there were a bunch of crystalline entities that popped up in Lower Decks I Excretus. I do remember. I don't remember if they showed it or if they mentioned it, but I do remember that. So one last thing I wanted to talk about about the beginning of the episode, which I thought was really good, was I thought it was the perfect blend of away mission people and on the ship people. And that's why I would have liked that to be the entire episode, because great away team, right? Riker, Data, Crusher. Data is the do everything, all information kind of guy. Crusher can handle the sick and the injured and what's going on, and help figure things out that way. Riker's in charge. You got all the villagers on the ship. You've got Picard. You got Troi. You got Worf handling ship security. You got Geordi handling engineering. I'm just like, this is perfect for a full episode. You could have a full episode, with the 3 of them down there working things out and, doing their thing, and the 4 up there doing their thing. And I love seeing them split off so that we could see how the teams work together. But we didn't get to see that this time. But I was excited to see that. And I was like, damn, that would have been the perfect groupings, I thought.
I think you're 100% right. Because I thought that was also the right combination of mixing of away teams. They had they even made a second away team because remember the first away team is Crusher, Data, and Riker. They get lost in the cave. So now there's a second away team, which comprised of Worf,
And Jordy.
LaForge, right, and some other guys. I think they had some other guys with nondescript personnel, but still, now we had the second away team going to save the first away team. I like to see that. I like the bridge staff that was also on there, except for a caveat that jumps out at me as being a little bit ridiculous. And again, Troi's character, Counselor Troi's character, lets me down once again in spectacular fashion.
She had, I wonder if you're referencing what I'm thinking, but she had basically the line of her role in a nutshell for 7 years. I don't know if you want to say it or I want to say it, but
there's no need to state the obvious or so. It was something like that, right?
She said, let me get the exact quote. She said,
unbelievable.
I don't think you need an empath to sense that woman's feelings. And I'm like, that's your entire role in a nutshell. Somebody's yelling. They're like, I'm going to destroy you in 5 seconds, Picard. I'm so tired of you. And then Troi leans over. Captain, I sense he's angry. He's like, yes, no shit, Counselor. He's going to kill us. And so he said this. And I'm like, bro, that's your entire role. This poor Marina, sir, she would probably read these lines and like be like, are you guys serious? Are you really going to make me say this?
Yeah. He got pissed at her, actually. He was like, yeah, I know. What she says? She says, well, the fact that they're not responding, Captain, doesn't mean that they're not injured or something. And he's like, I know. Like, like, tell me something I don't know. That is your role in this. Your whole superpower is to tell me something I don't already know. And so it would be nice, Troi, if in this episode you said, I sense Riker's in danger. Before they went and found out that he was in danger, you know what I mean? Or something to that effect.
Yeah, I wonder if she could just be like, Captain, I'm sensing an ominous presence coming. And Worf says, nothing on scanners. And she says, no, towards the away team. And then they can zoom, then she could be a little more helpful. I mean, even if they could still not arrive in time and the storyline still works, but at least it shows her usefulness. That poor thing.
Tell me something I don't know. Riker's in distress. I didn't know he was in distress because I was thinking that whole opening scene where Riker is running away from this crystalline entity and it's Hoover vacuum cleaning the entire forestry there.
Yeah,
right?
That thing sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
It really blows.
But I'm thinking during that exchange that this was interesting to me. This is what I noticed I did not see during that. And which you would think for a guy who says, with all due respect, I'm not a raw cadet. Okay. Let me ask you this, and this is something that I don't see often. If you're in a away team and you see danger, wouldn't your first thing be to hit your comm badge right away and report the danger to the Enterprise or to anywhere? The first thing, right?
Yeah, you could just say, Riker to Enterprise, the crystalline entity is on its way. We're going to seek cover.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Boom. Yes.
And they usually do.
And the fact that he didn't do that because, okay, maybe if you don't have time to react because it's, you got a lot of women and children and, elderly in front of you and you're processing all of the information as it's happening. Okay, I get that. But even while you're running now, after you've gotten everybody in the direction of evacuation, guys, there's an emergency, we got to go to that cave. even while you're running, you hit your comm badge at some point and say, Riker to the Enterprise, we've got to, and maybe it'll come up all static and distorted or something, and they can't hear it or whatever. But still, you would try that. In the military, if I'm not mistaken, and those of you out there listening, wouldn't that be the case if you were under attack or under fire, or if you saw the enemy on the other ridge? Wouldn't you report seeing them on the this is Foxtrot 1, this is such and such, I see the enemy on at this location, they're here, over there, whatever the target is? You would identify the threat publicly so that it's known amongst your crew, this is the threat and this is where I've located and identified it. To me, that was one aspect. So that's his side of the communication. And then you have Data there to do that as well, right? Data could be like, not only Riker could do it, but Data would have the presence of mind to do that as well.
Right. Data should just do it automatic because, he doesn't get scared or worried or overwhelmed or panicked or anything.
Right. And then while Data's doing that, there's a brief signal is blocked. I can't get through to the Enterprise exchange, whatever. That makes sense. Then we use Troi's ability, which we've already proven can work long distances, right?
Off and on. It just, it just. What was it? I think it was Gene Roddenberry once said that the ship, because there were like inconsistencies in how fast the ship can travel or the distances. Right. I think it was him, and he said, the ship travels at the speed of plot or something like that, basically. Right. And that's her. Like, her abilities are whatever the plot calls for, and most of the time it's nothing. Poor thing.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes, Troi STFU and use your powers. So yeah, I was not pleased at all with her use in this episode. I'm thinking she is the Captain Obvious. There's Captain Picard, and then there's Captain Obvious sitting right there next to her.
Yeah, so this is now a trope. It's called this traveling at the speed of plot. It is now officially a TV trope. Yeah, when I just Googled speed of plot, first thing that comes up is TV tropes, traveling at the speed of plot.
Well, it makes sense to me because, they're always that far away. Like, how far? Warp 8. How far away are we?
Whatever distance. Away. It's kind of like how the bad guy is like, I've had it with you. We're going to destroy you. You're my bitter enemy. You have 12 hours. Why? What? Why do you give him even 1 hour? You have a big decision to make. Yeah. You have 1 hour. If you're an evildoer or you are furious or or panicked or stressed, you're not going to give somebody an hour. You're going to be like, just tell me make your decision. It's always so funny how they do that, but we understand why they do that. It's for the plot. It's because we need the episode to be within those 12 hours.
Exactly. So
12 hours.
Speed of plot. Yeah.
I think it's probably time to take a break so we can compose ourselves. We're getting a little heated here. I'm getting livid. Sick of this stuff.
But we haven't even talked about the best part of the episode, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, I can't wait for this. What is the best part? We'll be right back, everybody. We'll find out on the 7th Rule.